O kia ora, tēnā koutou katoa. It's Rachel Froggatt here, Secretary General of the International Working Group on Women in Sport, and of course here in New Zealand, Chief Executive of Women in Sport Aotearoa. And I'm really thrilled to be on a quick insight bite 15-minute journey with Nick Sautner, Chief Executive of Eden Park. Nick, hello, how are you?
Kia ora, Rachel, and thanks for your time.
Oh, thanks so much for making the time. I think it's such an interesting moment, given last week's huge announcement about New Zealand becoming co-host of the 2023 FIFA Women's World Cup, to talk to our major national stadium and find out, you know, what's been going on, what's been happening over the last 3 months as COVID kicked in.
Well, it's obviously been a pretty challenging time for the team. Within sort of a 24-hour period, we terminated all match day revenue streams, so we responded quickly, and as with I suppose all organisations, we looked at a three-stage strategy around weeks, months and years to emerge stronger out of COVID. But just on the announcement last week of the FIFA Women's World Cup, for Eden Park to be hosting 3 Women's World Cups in 3 years, this is a game changer for sport in New Zealand, and a real opportunity for us to showcase quality and demonstrate what is possible at the National Stadium.
And I suppose the other thing is, you know, Eden Park is actually hosting the opening match for the Women's Football World Cup. Now, when you think about in France last year, over 1 billion people watched the World Cup live, and we're expanding the teams from 24 to 32, so it's a much bigger competition. Has Eden Park ever had 1 billion eyeballs on it at any one time?
It's an interesting question because we look at a cricket fixture on Indian Republic Day this year with an estimated audience into India of 500 million. The Rugby World Cup, the final was in the vicinity of 900 million. So this will be arguably the biggest event in Eden Park's 117-year history. And to think that we've been able to be part of such a historic bid for Australia and New Zealand to come together and Eden Park, the National Stadium, to host the opening fixture is something that I'm sure many people still aren't probably truly understanding of how big this announcement is.
Well, that's actually, I suppose, you know, talking about big announcements and big events that you'll be having at Eden Park, I can't quite say it's on the same scale, but we are delighted today to be announcing that Eden Park will be hosting the Captain's Lunch for us this year, which is our joint event between Women in Sport Aotearoa and the Trans-Tasman Business Circle, and it brings together sports leaders from across New Zealand and also New Zealand's business community. So firstly, a massive thank you for being our event host, but also you're going to be a captain this year, which is exciting.
Well, I'm delighted. Obviously, from a personal perspective, I've had an involvement with playing sport myself, and then now with 2 Kiwi girls under 2. I'm just so excited about the event calendar over the next 3 years, and for my girls to actually be part of that journey as women in sport comes to the fore at Eden Park. We've had such a strong history of global events, whether it be through the Empire Games, through Lions series, or even some of the in recent times the double headers featuring the Black Ferns and the All Blacks. So to be in a situation I don't think there'd be a stadium in the world that could announce that in the next 3 years we would have, they would have 3 World Cups for women in a 3-year period. And we're very proud of our association with ensuring that there is equality at Eden Park. We are working with central government and council to ensure the facilities are gender appropriate. And one of the highlights in my 4 years at Eden Park was when we celebrated Suffrage 125 with a mural and 9 women of influence that have set the stage for sport in this country.
I actually had the chance to have a personal tour with the Chief Executive of Eden Park not that long ago, which was a really lovely thing to be able to do. And I saw the Suffrage Memorial live as well. And it, you know, fairly recently, actually, I read an interesting article that said that stadiums are on one hand, you can describe them as a huge machine with lots of moving parts, but on the other side of it, you can actually almost describe them as a living and breathing organism of their own. And I'm really interested to know, in your 4 years, which line of thinking you ascribe yourself to, and what are the daily operations of Eden Park that maybe most of us don't know about?
Well, I think Eden Park would arguably be categorised in both those areas. We're no different to an airport, a toll road or a hotel, that you need utilisation. And over the last 3 years, we've been strategic in our approach to seeing a billion-dollar asset that is an asset for the community, but it's a strategic asset for the country. And so we've introduced a number of new initiatives to see greater utilisation. That's included whether it be converting our corporate suites into hot desks, and similar to what WeWork does in London with a common reception and a common boardroom, or indeed looking at stadium glamping, zip lines and rooftop tours. So we are an iconic brand globally. We are also acknowledged by probably 1,000 people a week on our tour program as arguably the world's most famous rugby venue. But it's something that locals is now, and the community is starting to appreciate that global significance.
And it's interesting because you yourself are, fronting and really moving forward with diversification for the venue, and most recently looking at trying to bring live music to the venue, which for those who live in Auckland know has been a sticking point for a long time with the local community. Can you give us an update on that?
Well, we're delighted to report that over 97% of the local residents supported our submission for concerts at Eden Park. There's no question that 20 years ago, people couldn't shop on a Saturday in Auckland. A lot's changed in 20 years, and this area really has changed. The community is part of our DNA. We've got over 1,400 members of our community support group called The Hood that actively are engaged with Eden Park. And I just look at it from a perspective of we're in a country and a society that prides itself on equality. Yet currently Eden Park is restricted, and female artists are restricted that they can't perform on a stage at Eden Park. And that just doesn't make sense to me. It is 2020, let the music play. The music industry, like many industries, have really suffered through COVID-19, the hospitality sector, etc. And so the opportunity for people to have escapism, for musicians to perform at Eden Park, and you may have seen recently the Spice Girls announced that likely to do a global tour in either 2021 or 2022. And I thought to myself, my wife and I were lucky enough to see them in London and last year. And I think we're going to have 3 Women's World Cups in 3 years. Imagine having the ultimate girl power band playing at Eden Park. I just can't think of a better way to christen concerts at this historic venue.
Oh, I think it would be amazing to see artists like, Beyonce, for example, or J-Lo, or some of those amazing international artists coming and being literally in our backyard here in Auckland. So we do wish you the best with that campaign to, like you say, utilise or make the best of the stadium in every possible avenue that you can.
Just with that, I had the pleasure of meeting Lizzie Marvelly, and Lizzie Marvelly is a woman in leadership in New Zealand, and she sung at the Rugby World Cup, the national anthem, and sadly she also performed at the Christchurch Remembrance Ceremony. Now, I just sat there and heard this amazing voice, and I thought, isn't it sad that this person that's got this amazing talent can only be heard by a narrow audience? And that's really was one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about this matter, because we are about equality, and we want to see that in the future.
Oh, it's a fantastic attitude to have, and it's amazing because of obviously Eden Park for a lot of people is very much seen as the bastion of old school traditional sport, particularly rugby and cricket. So your vision to diversify and make it a stadium for all New Zealanders and representative of all New Zealanders is really something I think you should be very proud of, Nick, and something we're very supportive of here at Women in Sport Aotearoa as well.
We were fortunate to have some of the football ferns here last week as part of the announcement, and Hannah Wilkinson, she actually is also a very talented musician, and we've got some pianos in the park, and she was playing in reception, and I just thought, what an amazing athlete. This is a person that is representing the country on the football field, but also then has the ability to connect through music. And to me, that was just a great example on, I suppose, the anomaly where on one instance someone can perform, but on the other instance currently is not able to do so. So I'm sure that will change. The support is there, and we'll go through the process, and the world will keep spinning, and people will have more memorable moments at this wonderful facility.
Well, I think it's one of the areas I really wanted to touch on with you is we've talked about it a little bit, but I think it'd be great to understand the unique challenges that Eden Park as a stadium has faced during COVID-19, because you've been impacted on multiple fronts with regards to gathering rules, with regards to hygiene and management of large events on the grounds and in the stands, with the way in which you manage your staff. You know, I don't know if people realise actually how many staff work when there's a game day or when there's a function on. So would you be able to sort of rewind to March when you kind of had that moment of realisation and sort of talk us through the journey you've been on?
Well, it has been a journey and it has been challenging, but we really were committed to emerging stronger. And sadly for the team, there hasn't been a family not affected by COVID. We acted quickly in accordance with recommendations made by the executive. We moved towards a 4-day week where staff then were in a position they could take the fifth day as annual leave, with a commitment to assess on a monthly basis. After the first month, we identified there was a need to do further cuts. That saw our staffing take reduced hours, reduced wages, and unfortunately some roles disestablished. It wasn't a cookie-cutter approach. It was an approach where we identified and looked at each role independently and said, can that role go into partial hibernation, knowing that it is a lean team at Eden Park, and we knew that coming out the other side with the event calendar scheduled, we needed that talent. Some of the staff have been with the business over 30 years, and so they were very understanding that if their role was reduced back to a day a week, 3 days a week, 4 days a week, I've got no doubt that those staff were probably still working their 5, 6 or 7 day week, but they were very understanding that they knew that coming out the other side, we were going to do whatever we could to ensure that they could be kept and retained. And that was something that the staff really appreciated, that we did. I had one-on-one conversations with each staff member. We outlined our plan for the first weeks about how we were going to respond the following months, and then now looking to the horizon with the team of 5 million in New Zealand, the work that's been done to pretty much eradicate COVID in this wonderful country, to then present opportunities for teams to come, go into isolation for the 2 weeks and then perform at arguably one of the few venues in the world that can have full spectators. You mentioned, Rachel, about the planning. The planning evolved almost daily. We went from the sports stages, we had government criteria, whether it be for 100 people within the facility, 10 people within the facility, 500 people within the facility, looking at individual entrances and exits, additional hygiene stations, contact tracing, high-touch areas having additional cleaning requirements, working in teams, whether it be from a sport and an entertainment basis, that even leading into last week's event, I got man flu, meant that I had to get COVID tested. 48 hours post a negative result, you needed to be out of the office. And so we evolved our procedures in saying that we couldn't afford our turf team to be in a position where the whole team was taken out by the fact that the flu had come through. So it has been a team effort. I'm very proud of each and every staff member. And even, I think the last thing I'd make a comment on is unfortunately the staff that were in roles that were disestablished, one of the consistent questions to me was, how are you doing? And I think it was a reflection on the culture that we have in our business, that it wasn't necessarily just about their circumstance, it was our broader whānau and how they were being affected.
Oh, Nick, it's been absolutely marvellous to have this quick chat with you, and the time always flies so fast, it really amazes me. And I think, you know, I'd love to finish off on one last question, and perhaps from your own perspective, but also the perspective of the staff who've been so impacted through COVID. When Super Rugby Aotearoa returned, and Eden Park was one of the only stadiums in the world welcoming live audiences, can you tell us what that moment felt like when you watched that unfurl?
It was just such a sense of pride, and the whole day, the families that came together, a lot of people had really struggled through the lockdown period, and to be able to have that escapism with friends and family, to come to the National Stadium, to stand and acknowledge the essential workers that had helped get Eden Park and the teams to the park, and to be in a situation to sell out the venue, to have coverage from the New York Times through to BBC. It just demonstrated what Eden Park can be for the country, what role sport plays in the rebuilding of economies, the rebuilding of society after such a challenging period. So I reflected on the fact that at 4:15 on the Monday, the Prime Minister announced crowds would be welcomed back to stadiums. And then some 5 days later, we had 3,000 employees. A lot of those staff are in positions where they may not have had a shift. They certainly not at Eden Park during the last 3 months. In the hospitality sector, in the security sector, in the cleaning sector, so many areas that we have touch points. And the smiles on the faces will be certainly one of those memories that's long lasting in my career.
Fantastic, Nick. Thank you so much for your time. We've been speaking to the Chief Executive of Eden Park, Nick Sautner, in partnership with our amazing partners at the Trans-Tasman Business Circle. Thank you very much, everyone, for tuning in.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you.